70 times 7. A few things to note about this story is, first of all, Peter was wanting a limit on how often he had to forgive somebody. It's interesting that he probably didn't want God limited in that same area. He wanted unconditional forgiveness from God, but he himself wanted certain limits. In a sense, he was being generous here. He knew that Jesus would want him to forgive, and most of the rabbis of that day taught 3 times, that you were to forgive someone 3 times. So Peter, knowing Jesus, doubled that amount and made it even higher, 7 times, thinking he pretty well has it nailed down. In a sense, you might say that Jesus was in no mood. He had left the mountain of transfiguration and was heading to Jerusalem for the triumphal entry, crucifixion, the payment of sin, the payment of debt. Jesus knew what he was going to go through so that Peter's sin would be forgiven. He was no mood for 7 times. No, 70 times 7. Peter, you're not even scratching the surface there. You are to forgive. You're to be generous. Basically, God is generous to you, and of course Jesus was thinking, and I'm generous as well. I'm giving my life. The amount of money owed here, the scripture says 10,000 talents. I use the figure $1 million, but that would be a low ball. 10,000 talents would be, on the low side, would be $1 million, probably closer to $50 or $60 million, and some even put it up to $1 billion. The amount that the friend owed the first man was, I say, $5,000, and that would be between $5,000 and $10,000, somewhere in that range, but still much, much less than what the first man owed the king. You might say this is a two-shock story. When Jesus was telling the story, and those who were listening to it, they'd be shocked twice. First of all, when he said that the king forgave the man, totally eliminated his debt for $1 million. That was unlike any king they had ever heard about. A king would just not do that. They was like, wow, and just like the man in the story, we just couldn't believe his ears. So the people listening to this. And then the second shock was when the man turned and would not forgive his friend of the $5,000. The statement, "Oh, you ungrateful wretch," probably came from the audience listening to Jesus tell the story. Oh, that ungrateful wretch. So it was a two-shock story. It was getting the point across. The method of paying the debt. The king said he was going to take the man and put him into slavery. The man was going to put his friend into a work prison. In a sense, even in this, the king was more generous. To be taken and put into slavery, in that day and age, slaves were generally treated quite well. It would probably be the case that the man, his wife, and his children would probably find it quite comfortable to be out from under this debt and to be slaves and be the responsibility of someone else. But the work prison, the purpose of the work prison was to generate sympathy from family and relatives so that someone would step up and pay the debt, or they would collect it and somehow to take care of it. They were put into prison, then things were done to them, torture things, deprived of food and water and beaten and tortured. to justly, so that the man is begging someone to help pay his debt. So even in this, the king was really being more generous than the man himself. Oh, you ungrateful wretch. Well, come back next week when we continue on with more story insights on the story of the week. We'll see you next week.